What up, family? Thank you for joining us for the final mock draft 5.0 of the series. This is draft week coming up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The draft is officially come upon us. And boy, do we need some interesting stuff to see what happens with the Saints. This draft is my final of the series and of course we're doing it on draftnetwork.com/the mock draft machine. That's draftnetwork.com/the mock draft machine. Do your own mock and submit it to us at the PRO Media Network at the PRO Media Network at gmail.com. Email it at the PRO Media Network at gmail.com. And one of us here at the PRO Media Network will put your pod up on our community section of the YouTube platform so that everybody can see your picks. Now here we go. We're going to start with the Saints here. And of course this is a 7-round mock like we always do. And we're going to go into our final mock with no further waiting. Now as you can see, as a team, as things are starting to roll down, and we see Grant Delpit sitting there, we see Jordan Love sitting there, and that's the interesting thing about this is you look ahead and you see a few of the guys that's not on the board. You see guys like that I liked a lot. Clavion Chasen is not on the board anymore. Then you have Justin Jefferson, he's gone. But you do have quarterbacks. You have Jordan Love, that's available there. You also have Pat Queen, who's sitting up there at the position a lot of people say Q, looking at. Now this is interesting. This is a scenario which I anticipate the Saints will face if they see a guy up there. I'm anticipating them facing a scenario when you can see veritable, you can have all these guys sitting up there. I really do think the Saints will be aggressive enough to move in this draft and try to make something happen. And I'm just keeping it real with you. I just think that's how it's going to go. I'm going to draft this draft like I think it should go, not according to what the Saints go. And these are going to be my picks as a stand. Now, Delpit is sitting at the top of the draft, and under this scenario, he's very high on my board, period. I would not basically look to move past a Grant Delpit because you say, well, safety's not a need for the Saints, but you can't, if at 24, if you're going to take the best player on the board. Now, Jordan Love sitting up there, and the Saints possibly could take a Jordan Love. That's Pat Queen sitting there, and Ken Murray. Both those guys available according to this mock. AJ Espinosa, who's one of my favorite guys, is also sitting up there. But if Grant Delpit's there, you can't pass Grant Delpit up at 24, and we'll just have to address it. We'll see how it works. So I take Grant Delpit there and see how it rolls back to me. Now remember, the Saints won't pick until the 3rd round, so you will look to kind of do the best you could do to meet and get who you need to get. And we'll just have to play it by ear. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, end up going to the Rams, and we'll just see how it played. LaVista Chenault is going to the Bengals. He's hurt. You got Hakeem Gaither. He's going to the Chargers. And the Saints are coming up real soon here, so we'll see how it will play. Now here we go on the board. And just before we can get it, Jalen Hurts gets snatched off the board from me because that's who I was looking at drafting. Missed him by 1 draft pick. And then you look at who you have left on the draft board of guys that you want to address the position. Now there's still other quarterbacks. Jacob Eason is still up there. I know about him. I know about Fromm and the rest of these guys. But if you're the Saints, you took Grant Delpit because he was the highest player on your board. And I like this because it forces me to think. It forces me to think about the next move or what we need to get in terms of building the team and moving in the correct direction. And a lot of people say, well, take the quarterback Q, we need a QB. I'm not sold on Jacob Eason or those guys. I think I can get a better quarterback a little further on in the draft. So the next highest thing I say, well, if we look at what we would need to address is perhaps you look at a running back. You see a guy like Cam Akers sitting there in the 3rd round. He can be a guy that can help you as well. As you're getting Delpit early, my next draft pick, to be honest with your family, is probably going to go. I'm gonna probably take I'm looking at a few things here. I like when it scrambles up like this because then it forces you to then kind of use your brain here to decide on which direction you're gonna end up going in. So with the next move, I'm gonna end up with the 3rd round pick. I'm gonna go with Well, I'm looking at Thad Moss right there. I know he ain't gonna be available for me in the 4th round. I don't have to take a wide receiver there because I got wide receivers that'll keep going to me. So I'm gonna look at taking a cornerback with the 3rd round pick, and I'm gonna go with Amick Robertson out of Law Tech with the 3rd round pick. And he addresses the cornerback position that we need. Thad Moss goes off the board to the Packers. I like Thad Moss, but of course, we need to look at a few things moving ahead to kind of help the team build up. Now, wide receiver is another play, but I know wide receiver position is very deep in this draft, and I'm not upset, to look at it because you're going to get a good wide receiver. Here we go in the 4th round. Colin Jefferson and Devin Duvernay both sitting there looking at you. Tyler Johnson sitting there looking at you. You have a series of other players sitting there looking at you. So, I mean, where do you go to if you're the team? And wide receiver is definitely a position of need that you can look at getting. And to be honest with you, man, the way I see it, because I'm looking at the quarterbacks too. I'm looking at Morgan. I've seen footage on him. I've seen footage on Gordon as well. I watched Montez as well. Watch him play. He's interesting. The Saints, here go Mason Fine. He's an undrafted guy. I don't think he gets drafted at all in this draft. But Morgan out of Florida International is interesting as a 4th round selection. He does give you a quarterback. Anthony Gordon does too. Montez is interesting. But if you're looking at a guy like James Morgan, who's 6'4", 213 out of Conference USA, we look at this guy, we can see that his statistics are pretty decent in terms of being a quarterback. And the Saints like this guy. They took a look at him. Anthony Gordon's another guy they're looking at. But with the pick and like I said, this is a scrambled up draft. I took Del Pitt first, then I took a cornerback off the board, and then if you look at the rest of the guys here, you will want to try to address the wide receiver position. You will want to address the wide receiver position. But you look at some of the edge rushers that you see there, and I'm gonna get an edge rusher. So rest and rely, family, that I'm gonna get an edge rusher sooner or later. But in this mock draft, being that I couldn't get the guy I really wanted in terms of Jalen Hurts, it would have probably been the best bet. But I do know about some of these other quarterbacks. I do know about a guy like Morgan who's a pretty interesting quarterback. And Anthony, a lot of people have Anthony Gordon high. I would take James Morgan with this 4th round selection here. And pretty much now the next thing could be looked upon is we got 2 picks left in the 5th and 6th round. He said, Q, you still ain't take a wide receiver. Because the wide receiver position is so deep, I can still land a guy late in the draft that can really help me out. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. Being at the wide receiver position is so deep. Oregon State's Hodgin is interesting, Cephas, but I still like Antonio Gandy Golden here, so I draft him to fill in the position with my 5th round draft pick, and we move forward. And like I said, this is strictly moving what the board, according to what the board gives us. And that's pretty much what it is. Whatever the board gives us, we're going to rock with it. We're going to try to make the best we can do with it. So if you go back to the board and we see some of the things that we've seen before and how it will work, then of course Lamar Jackson, who's a cornerback that fit. Remember, I took a cornerback early, so I don't really need to take Lamar Jackson at that position. But if you can look at other players, like you address the wide receiver position, you look at the running back position. Here, DJ Dallas out of Miami is pretty interesting, but I don't take any running backs with that position. You look at the tight end position, and you see Jared Pickney out of Vanderbilt, who I like. Steven Sullivan was a wide receiver. You can convert to tight end and see how that works for you. Or I would look toward the edge. I would see about trying to get an edge guy that can help me out, which I'm more than likely I'll be using a linebacker for. So I would take my boy right here, Michael Divinity Jr. I think they'd have him listed as linebacker. He could play both, but I think you'll get good value from Divinity as a edge rusher. The Saints don't have a 7th-round selection currently, and this will be my mock draft going into it. And of course, like I said, if I had the ability to kind of trade and move around, I would trade and move around and do some stuff and try to upgrade in many different ways. But when you're sitting there and you have to take what other people give you according to the draft, then this is the best that I feel like that I needed to do. Now let's go over my picks for the 5th and final mock draft. Remember, I did this according to what I like, and usually remember when you're sitting at 24, you never know who's going to be there. If Grant Delpit falls to you at 24th, he's got to be high on your list. He's the second best. Some people say the first best, second best. Some say first best safety in his draft. He's a playmaker. He's the type of safety that the Saints have been looking for since they got rid of Malcolm Jenkins and Grant Delpit. You don't know what, and people say, well, safety, we're good at safety. Q, you're not really that good at safety. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to convert to a cornerback. You'll see PJ Williams convert to safety. You'll see guys like Saquon Hampton there. You have 1 year deals with Swearinger. You have a 1 year deal left with Marcus Williams. So in truth and honesty, you're thinking you're deep after this year, but if Grant Delpit falls to you in your lap, you have no choice but to take Grant Delpit. 6'3", 210, something like that. Fantastic player, fantastic talent. He can do so much for you, and you'd be absolutely crazy not to draft Grant Delpit with all the accolades and awards that he's won as the best safety in college football last year. In the second round pick, what did I do? I kept it. I went from the safety position for the future to Amik Robertson out of Law Tech. Now what this guy does is he's a smaller guy, 5'9", some say 5'10", but he is a ball hawk. Has a nose for the ball. He doesn't have the size that you would want him to have, but he has the mentality. He fights for the ball. He's an excellent player, and I just love his upside. So as you can see, I addressed it. The defensive, I went to the secondary and addressed some moves, more than likely because I didn't like my edge rushers who I had up high. Some of the ones that I preferred were already off the board, but Amik Robertson appealed to me. So based on how my draft went, I went LSU first and then Louisiana Tech second. How about that? The next pick, of course, Jalen Hurts had just came off the board to the Patriots right before I picked. He would have really set my draft off. But I decided to take James Morgan with the pick out of Florida International. He has good size. He has good accuracy. He can throw the ball. And really, the guy doesn't really lack. He just came from a small program. Not really small, but unknown program. He started in 37 games in college. 13 at the Bowling Green. He transferred there. He started 24 games. And he has the size, mobility. He can throw the ball. And he's accurate. And it's a lot of great stuff about this guy. You just need to work on and develop him. He could be a real steal in the draft for a team, as Morgan has the size. He can move around a little bit. But like I said, a lot of people think about him having a zip on the ball. But if you watch the tape on Morgan, not a bad quarterback to pick up there in the fifth round. Then what did I do after that? I basically gave James Morgan, a quarterback, a wide receiver of the future, when Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty. And that was a real good value pick, and I think I got good value in pretty much this entire draft. Not to mention getting Delpit that fell to me at the 24th, Amik Robertson, who's a fantastic cornerback of the future. So you add two pieces into the future playmakers into your secondary. You get a quarterback that can walk behind Drew Brees after a year, who has size, accuracy, who can command and intelligence. You have Antonio Gandy Golden, another guy that comes in who checks boxes for you as well. As a big target at 6'4", 222, can high point the ball. He's a fantastic talent as well, and he has a lot of really solid attributes that you can work on with him. He has he's not as fast as you would like him to be, but he has a lot of accolades that really work in his favor. Very productive over his time there and doing it. Pretty precise route runner, and really good hands as well. Doesn't exactly burn up the field, but he does have decent speed. But I like Antonio Gandy Golden out of Liberty. He'll go well with James Morgan. He'll fill in the need behind a guy like Emmanuel Sanders, and he'll definitely push a guy like Traquan Smith. And then with the final pick of my mock draft, I take Michael Divinity Jr. out of LSU, 6'2", 240. A lot of people have him penciled in as a linebacker, but he is kind of a tweener guy. You can line him up at the defense, on the defensive line, to rush the pass as well. So Michael Divinity Jr. gives me good value the 6th round. And then, of course, it gives me 2 LSU players on the same draft with a Law Tech player. How about that? How about that? So a lot of people looking at it say, well, Q, this is an interesting draft. But listen, man, this is my 5th and final draft. This is actually a pretty damn good draft, because what I did was, even though I didn't get the linebacker prospect, well, you can throw Michael Divinity in that position to kind of help you because he's a tweener guy. I addressed the linebacker position. I addressed the cornerback position. I got a safety of the future and a ball hawk in both Amik Robinson and Grant Delpit. I also added a quarterback of the future with James Morgan. I got him a target to work by, to bloom behind Emmanuel Sanders and Mike Thomas and Antonio Gandy Golden, who's big and physical. Then I get a pass rusher who's from LSU, who can play either the linebacker or the edge position. So really, I kind of addressed both the linebacker and edge position with one player, being that he's a guy that can do both for you if you need him. So this is some of the things I did. This is my final 5.0 mock draft. If you like it, thumbs up. Share your thoughts on the draft. Let me know how you feel about this draft. Hey, and if you don't like it, too goddamn bad, do your own. Do your own. Go to the draftnetwork.com/the mock draft machine. The link is in the description section below with the email that you can send to us at the PRO Media Network platform. Send us your mock. We'll post it on the community section of the platform. I'm Big Q. Thank you for joining us on the mock today. Peace, be cool, and I'll see you later.
Perfect.